The late afternoon sun hung low over Quiapo, casting long shadows across the bustling streets where 14-year-old Liam Santos stood with his battered guitar. The wooden body was scratched, the strings uneven, and the strap was just an old shoelace tied together, but to Liam, it was his most precious possession. As jeepneys honked and weaved through traffic, as vendors called out prices for kwek kwek and mango shakes, Liam took a deep breath and began to sing. His voice rose above the chaotic noise, clear and soulful, surprising anyone who passed by. People who usually walked with their heads down began to slow. Some stopped entirely, drawn to the emotional pull in his tone, a mixture of hope, struggle, and a longing only someone who had lived his life could express. A small crowd formed. A mother with groceries paused, her child tugging at her shirt. A taxi driver rolled down his window to listen. A few students filmed him with their phones, whispering, "Ang galing niya, he's amazing." Coins clinked into his cracked plastic cup, some pesos, some loose change, but Liam didn't focus on the money. He was thinking of Mira, his 7-year-old sister waiting back at their small shanty near the Pasig River. She loved when he sang her to sleep. She believed he would be famous someday. Liam wasn't so sure. Survival came first, dreams came second. When he finished the song, he bowed shyly and whispered, "Salamat po." The crowd dispersed, swallowed again by the restless energy of Manila. Liam gathered the few coins he earned, enough for pandesal and maybe a little rice. He glanced up at the darkening sky, his voice barely audible as he murmured, "Someday, I'll sing on a real stage." A big one, and though the street swallowed his words, the dream inside him burned bright. The next day, Liam returned to his usual spot near the underpass, the city already alive with its usual hum of engines and hurried footsteps. He adjusted his guitar, preparing to sing again, when a tall foreign tourist with a small camera stopped in front of him. The man listened for a moment, eyes widening, as Liam began a soft, emotional rendition of an old Filipino love song. The tourist slowly lifted his camera and started recording. But this time, something was different. Liam wasn't just singing for coins. He sang like he was telling the world his story. Every hardship, every dream, every moment spent on the streets poured through his voice. People gathered again, forming a larger crowd than usual. When Liam hit the final note, the small group erupted into applause. The tourist approached him with a warm smile. "You have a gift," he said in accented English. "May I post this video online?" Liam hesitated, then nodded shyly. That night, back in their tiny shanty, Liam shared the leftover pandesal with Mira as she talked about school. Suddenly, their neighbor came running, shouting, "Liam! Liam, you're viral." Confused, Liam borrowed someone's phone and checked. His video had exploded. 200,000 views, 500,000, 1 million. Thousands of comments flooded in. "This boy needs to be on AGT. Where in Manila is he? Someone help him. This kid is pure talent." Reporters began messaging. Filipino celebrities shared his video. By morning, his life had changed forever. An email arrived from a Filipino-American talent scout in Los Angeles. "We want to fly you to the United States for an audition." Liam stared at the message, stunned. His mother cried. Mira hugged him so tightly he almost lost his breath. For the first time, his dream didn't feel impossible. It felt close, so close he could almost touch it. Liam could hardly breathe as he stood backstage at the Dolby Theater, hearing the distant roar of thousands of people beyond the curtain. The bright lights peeked through the edges, far different from the street lamps of Manila that had been his only spotlight. His hands trembled as he clutched his guitar, new, donated, and perfect, but he still felt like the same boy who sang on sidewalks. Next up, Liam Santos from the Philippines. A stagehand called. His heart thumped so loudly he thought the microphone might pick it up. As he stepped forward, the audience slowly came into view, rows upon rows of faces, cameras, and glowing stage lights. The judges' table glowed center stage. Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel. Their expressions were curious, welcoming, but intimidating. Liam swallowed hard. Simon leaned forward. "Hello, young man. What's your name? Where are you from?" I'm Liam, from Manila, Philippines." His voice cracked nervously, but the audience cheered loudly, waving small Filipino flags they had brought just for him. "Why are you here today?" Heidi asked gently. Liam hesitated. "To show that dreams can come true. Even for kids like me." A soft, "ah," rippled through the crowd. The music began, a slow, Powerful ballad he had chosen because Mira loved it. Liam closed his eyes, took a breath, and let the first note fly. It was pure magic. His voice filled the massive theater with a depth and emotion that made Simon's eyebrows shoot up instantly. People began to rise from their seats halfway through the chorus. The cheers grew louder, yet Liam kept singing with all the heart he had carried from the streets of Manila to this shining, impossible stage. When the final note echoed across the hall, the audience exploded. Liam opened his eyes, breath shaking, realizing he had just lived the biggest moment of his life. For a moment after Liam finished singing, there was nothing, no sound, no movement, just a stunned, breathless silence. Liam's heart pounded as he stared at the judges, afraid he had somehow made a mistake. But then, like a wave crashing all at once, the entire theater erupted into applause. People were on their feet. Some were crying, others were shouting his name. Liam, Liam, Liam. Heidi placed both hands over her chest. Sophia fanned her eyes, visibly emotional. Howie shook his head in disbelief, mouthing, "Wow." But Simon Cowell did not speak. He just stared at Liam, unblinking, his expression unreadable. The crowd quieted, waiting. Finally, Simon leaned into the mic, his voice low and thick with emotion. "Liam," he began, pausing as if choosing his words carefully, "in all the years I've been doing this show, very few performances truly hit me here." He gently tapped his chest. The audience murmured in anticipation. That, he continued, pointing at Liam, was one of the most heartfelt performances I've ever heard from someone your age, or any age. Liam's hands flew to his mouth. Tears formed instantly. "You sang like someone who has lived 1,000 stories, Sophia added, still wiping beneath her eyes. "We all felt your heart from the moment you opened your mouth." Heidi nodded enthusiastically. "Your voice is beautiful, but your soul, that's what makes you special." Howie leaned forward. "You didn't just audition tonight. You arrived." The crowd roared again. Liam's vision blurred with tears. He had prepared for criticism, advice, maybe even rejection, but not this. Not the overwhelming praise, not the emotion in Simon's usually sharp voice. He felt dizzy with disbelief. And then Simon pushed back his chair, stood up slowly, and looked directly at him. Something big was coming. Liam could feel it in his bones. The theater buzzed with excitement as Simon stood from his chair. Liam froze in place, gripping the microphone with trembling hands. The audience sensed something was about to happen, something huge. A hush fell over the room, followed by scattered whispers. As Simon, "No way, he's going to do it." Simon walked slowly around the judges' table, his eyes never leaving Liam. The boy could feel his knees weakening. He tried to swallow, but his throat was too tight. "Liam," Simon said, standing center stage, "I want you to remember this moment for the rest of your life." He paused, and the entire hall held its breath. "You came from the streets of Manila, but tonight, you belong on one of the biggest stages in the world." Then, without another word, Simon turned, lifted his hand, and slammed the golden buzzer. An explosion of gold confetti burst from the ceiling, cascading down like a shimmering waterfall. The audience screamed. Myra's voice echoed from somewhere in the crowd. She had been flown in secretly as part of the surprise. Liam gasped, dropping to his knees as tears poured down his face. He covered his mouth, overwhelmed, shaking with disbelief. His entire body felt weightless, as if all the struggles, all the nights singing for coins, all the dreams whispered under smoky Manila skies had come crashing together into this single, unbelievable moment. Simon walked onto the stage, knelt down, and placed a firm hand on Liam's shoulder. "You earned this," he said softly. "Never forget where your voice came from, and never stop using it." Liam looked up, eyes shining with tears and confetti. For the first time, he wasn't just a street singer. He was a golden buzzer act, chosen, celebrated, and finally seen. The world had just discovered him. And nothing would ever be the same.